Well, hello. Summertime means ice cream. Well, for me, it means ice cream because guess what? I'm obsessed with ice cream. So spring, summer, fall is all ice cream. And one of my things I love to do is once you get a base ice cream kind of down, you've gone through the process, you have a countertop ice cream maker. Yeah, you have one in your closet or you have seen them at thrift stores and they're like 10 bucks. You can kind of start making fun variations and changing up. So this is one of my favorite kind of gilding the lily ice creams, and it is a raspberry cream cheese ice cream. So we're making pretty much a cheesecake ice cream base. And we swirl in a raspberry sauce. Guys, this is so good and it's easy because guess what? It's an ice cream and I know you can do that. So to start in a pan here, we're gonna put some milk. Now, I love, when I'm making an ice cream, to me it's like, what is it? It's an indulgence. So I am using whole milk because one, the consistency it gives the ice cream to me is superior. The flavor it gives the ice cream is superior. And it to me just makes it perfect. So we're adding in our milk. And yeah, I over poured on that one. Guys, I get excited. I do. I get excited to make these with you. And then sometimes I just don't pay attention, but you can put it back. So then we're gonna put some heavy cream. Now, cream cheese, and we're gonna put in some sour cream too, just like a cheesecake. They have a lot of fat. So I am not using quite as much heavy cream as I usually would. So we're gonna kind of balance it out, but we still want it to have an ice cream consistency. So that's why we have still the milk and the cream. What do we need next? We need some sugar. You know, sugar, ugh, love-hate relationship. The thing is, don't hate it, have it once in a while and enjoy it, and don't eat the whole thing of ice cream. That's how you have a love relationship. So we're gonna put in some sugar, and then, again, here I am. We're gonna put in some salt. You always need a little bit of salt, just to kind of balance out the flavors. Now, one of the things in ice cream, in any ice cream I make, and sometimes people think it's weird, is a little bit of corn syrup. It's not high fructose corn syrup, but it is corn syrup. And what it does is, corn syrup is an inert sugar, which means you don't get as many ice crystals once you're making the ice cream. We put in 2 tablespoons, and when it churns, it keeps it just that right texture, and it doesn't give you those little crystally things. I don't like that. You want it just to be a clean ice cream. So with this, we're gonna take it over to the stove. We're gonna let it come up to just a boil. The high ratio of heavy cream to milk to a lower fat thing helps it so you can let it actually come to a boil. So we're gonna let it come to a boil. We're gonna thicken it with a slurry. It's gonna be good. So it just came to a boil, which I know it scares people with dairy, but again, with the high fat, it's fine, it doesn't curdle. And so what I'm gonna do now, and I do it off the heat, is I have a little bit of milk. I pour just a little bit of milk back in there. And you guys, I say these things, the recipe is on the website, wiseguide.com, so you don't have to worry about that. Cornstarch. So we're making just a quick, easy cornstarch slurry, which is something you use to thicken things up. You're gonna notice, what does this not have? No eggs. One, the actual like cream cheese and the sour cream we're putting into it are thick too, but this just thickens it slightly. It's a different way to make ice cream. We don't need the richness of any egg yolks in here. So instead, we're just gonna thicken it with a little bit of that cornstarch. We're gonna bring it back to a quick boil, which takes a few seconds when it's hot. You wanna bring anything that you put cornstarch into to a full boil again, because that's how you know you activate all the cornstarch. So when that's at a boil, I'm gonna bring it over. We're gonna add in some of those extra things to make it much more like a cheesecake. It's gonna be good. It came to a boil, letting me know that all the cornstarch was activated. So now comes kind of the interesting thing here. So when you're doing anything like making a cheesecake, usually you have a little bit of sour cream, which the sour cream in it, what it does in a cheesecake is it kind of gives you that tang, it balances it out. So that's really what we're doing here. Now, thankfully, again, sour cream, you could also use a Greek yogurt. It also happens to be nice and thick and have a lot of fat in it. So that really helps to the consistency of the ice cream. Then I have some room temperature cream cheese. And the reason room temperature is it's obviously gonna melt into this base a lot easier. And that to me is just, you know, if you can have it out for a few hours to make sure it gets like that, it just helps it. And we're gonna kind of just use half of it. You don't wanna go, when you're making an ice cream, I think that dance, that's important. I call it dance. It's not really, but obviously. But the whole thing is to make sure that, you know, you don't have too much fat, you don't have too little fat, you don't want it too thick, you don't want it too thin. That's why certain recipes are different, because they all kind of bring a different flavor and a different profile and make it just the right texture. So we're wanting it to be like a cheesecake, but not be too thick. So as that's melting in, I'm gonna add, just like I would in any ice cream or a cheesecake. See, again, we're using that, do you guys ever have it where it gets a little tight on there? We're gonna add a little bit of vanilla, just a good teaspoon, we'll say. And then I'm going to actually, instead of adding lemon juice, I'm gonna add some lemon zest. And there's a couple reasons. Sometimes when you add juice to anything that's dairy, it can kind of curdle it, separate it. Instead, I just want to get that flavor. So I'm gonna make sure to add some zest. Not too much, this isn't a lemon cheesecake ice cream, but you want enough that it just kind of gives you the hint. And I think, again, that little bit of citrus, it can brighten up heavy flavors. You know, we have some fats in here and we want it just to have a nice kind of lighter, nice flavor, give you that citrus. So I'm gonna let this all melt. I'm gonna let that cream cheese really melt into it, which with how warm it was, won't take long. Then we'll talk about chilling it and we'll talk about the raspberry sauce. So the heat is still on the ice cream, but it's not steaming anymore. So I always decant it then. Now, if you feel like you have the pieces of maybe your cream cheese was a little too cold and wasn't melting in, use an immersion blender or let it cool down and then you can just put it through a countertop blender. But I'm decanting it into a measuring cup. I'm gonna let it cool down even more to room temperature, cover it, put it in the fridge. Anytime, any countertop ice cream maker, they don't have a compressor. If you have one that has a compressor, good for you. But you instead need to let them fully chill, so it's like 6 hours at least. You want them to get cold because it is a frozen insert usually in one of those countertop ones, and so you want it to be cold before you do it. So we're gonna let that finish kind of cooling down and put it in the fridge. But the day before, that's usually when I start my ice creams, I also make the raspberry sauce because this is a raspberry cheesecake ice cream. So in here I have fresh raspberries. Now you can of course use frozen raspberries, you don't have to use fresh. I happen to have fresh on hand. Frozen are great for cooking, for baking. They have great flavor. Now, they're plump. These are sweet. Raspberries almost always are. So they don't need a ton of sugar, but they need some sugar. We're kind of making a quick kind of rough jam. It's kind of a fake jam because we're gonna thicken it slightly, but it's the idea. So after the sugar, I'm gonna add a little bit of cornstarch, you know, just like before. What does cornstarch do? It thickens. Now, I'm adding it dry with everything else because we're gonna mix it in and just let it come up to heat. You can do that. You don't always have to do a slurry. It just kind of depends. Now, along with that, we're gonna add some fresh lemon juice, just like I would if I was making jam. And I like this one, what I think is important, since this is getting mixed with a delicious sweet ice cream, you want it to have kind of a contrast, and you want that to come from this like great kind of tangy sweet jam. And so that's what we're doing here. We're having a contrasting delicious thing. So that lemon juice is helping it. It also just balances out the raspberry, brings out more raspberry flavor, adds a great brightness to it. Now, you don't have to, but if you want to, and you want to just elevate it slightly, and I always do, I add a little bit of Grand Marnier. It's an orange and cognac liqueur. It has great flavor. I just add a couple tablespoons. They just add something, a little something special. I mean, if you just taste a little bit, it's like what you want to soak a cake in at Christmas or like a special, so good. So we're gonna bring this to the stove, and what I'm gonna do, let me tell you this before I do it, I get excited, is stir it slightly. We have that lemon juice, and what we're gonna do is make sure all that cornstarch is just, you know, kind of wet. It will help it dissolve, and as you can see already, you see most of it dissolving. So it's also breaking down the raspberries right away because they break down so quickly. We're gonna bring it to the stove, let it come to a simmer, and it's gonna be thick within a couple minutes, and it's jam. It's a rough, quick jam sauce. See, this is so simple. It took a couple minutes. The cornstarch makes it go really quick, and raspberries, if they're frozen or fresh, break down extremely quickly. It's thickened. It has just that perfect kind of consistency, and as it cools, it will thicken slightly more. That's always the important thing to remember. So if your cornstarch doesn't seem like it right away, it will get, as it chills, anything is inherently slightly thicker. So again, I'm just putting this into another dish. So now what we can do is once we're done with this, we're gonna cover them both. That way the raspberry sauce is ready, because you want that to be fully cooled too when we mix it with the ice cream, because that's what we're gonna do. You don't wanna put something hot or something that hasn't been chilled with the frozen ice cream, because then it would just melt it, and that's sad. So we're gonna let that come down to room temperature. We're gonna cover them both, put them in the fridge, and then we're gonna make some of the best ice cream. I know you're excited. I am too. It's the next day. The ice cream base has been in the fridge chilling. It was covered, and the raspberry sauce is in the fridge. So you can do this even just for 6 hours. Do it the same day. I always do it the day before, and then you use whatever countertop ice cream maker you have. That's what this is designed for. It does the right amount for those. Now, it's always thick because this has that cream cheese. It's pretty much like a cheesecake filling, but in ice cream form. So we're gonna put it right in there. And when they're thicker like this, they actually churn faster. So ice cream sooner, which is always a good thing. You know, most of the countertop models have the same instructions, but follow the instructions on yours. Mine just happens to fit onto my mixer, and I just think then it's like one less appliance. So to me, it's a no-brainer. And yeah, I'm gonna get it all out because it's ice cream, so obviously. I put the paddle in it, I put it on my mixer. Honestly, when you do these a couple times, you see it's so easy. I'm gonna churn it, and then we'll come back and we'll have ice cream with raspberry. It's all done. It's been churning. It honestly does. When it's thicker ice cream like that, it goes pretty fast. And you get this beautiful, look at that, just beautiful ice cream. So if you have a countertop ice cream maker, or if you're new to them, you may not know, when you first churn an ice cream like this, it kind of comes out like a thicker soft serve consistency, which is perfect. Don't get me wrong, I love a good soft serve. And it's up to you. You can eat it right like that. You could also eat it and let it get harder by putting it back in the freezer, just decanting it into the container like we're gonna do, and then freezing it. And then you have more of like a hard serve. So it's kind of like choose your own path with the ice cream. You can do whatever you want. I often opt, especially when I'm gonna layer one like this one, to put it back in the freezer because it just kind of rehardens it, solidifies it, kind of just makes it perfect. Now, I know what you're thinking. What are you doing taking all this time? I like to get all the bits off because, again, when you're making good ice cream, why would you not make sure to get it all off? You want to. So what I do is use a loaf pan. We're layering here. We have a raspberry sauce. We have this cheesecake ice cream, and we want them to kind of be mixed together. So to me, the best way to do that is to take the ice cream, put some in there, and we're just gonna layer. We're gonna take some of this raspberry sauce. Now, when you're putting it in like this, at first you're gonna think, wow, this is ugly. But after you put it together, maybe let it go back in the freezer, it re-solidifies, and then when you scoop it out, you have ribbons. So if you ever see those pictures of like ribbons of stuff in ice cream and think, my ice cream never looks like that. No, it probably doesn't until you have to layer it like this, put together. So I'm gonna finish layering, and then we'll taste it, you guys. We need to taste it. So it's all layered in here. It's nothing pretty at the moment. On the top, I usually just put a little extra sauce and kind of spread it out evenly. The thing is, now it's best to refreeze it, but since you guys are you guys, there's nothing and no better way to describe it than it is cheesecake that is ice cream with a delicious raspberry sauce. What I like is the raspberry sauce is just tart enough that it really kind of complements the sweetness in the ice cream. So you kind of get that good complexity of a little bit of a depth of tartness in that raspberry sauce, and then that smooth, creamy cream cheese ice cream to really bring it all together. So as you can see, it is best to refreeze at this point, but I couldn't wait to try it. So what does this let you know? It is super fun and easy to make ice cream, and you can really have fun with the flavors. You can try different things. As always, where is this recipe? It's on wiseguy.com, along with so many other things. So share this around because I love when you share these videos. It helps me, of course, but it helps so many people see it is worth dusting off an ice cream maker, because if I can do this, I know you all can do this. We can do it together. Gather around, have some delicious food, enjoy each other, make the world a sweeter place, because it's worth it. So go to my website for this recipe, other ones. Until next time, I hope you're gonna have some ice cream. It makes the day better.